I'm built a little different too for that. But, aside from that, back to the Boilermaker. How many Boilermakers have you done under 60 minutes?
This year, I'm counting this year because even though we're all by yourself, I'm gonna count it because so this was 21, no 22. This was 22 in a row under an hour. Been chatting.
I know.
So welcome to the show. We've got Mike Brych today. Mike Brych does a lot of things, which he's about to tell us.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have him here. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So we run, we bike, we swim, race direct, coach. So what don't you do? Is there a sport?
Oh boy, yeah. Through the years, you just kind of end up falling into here, there, everywhere, and kind of do some different things. I'm retired from a lot of it now, actually, but but it's still fun. It was a good ride, and there's always the next adventure and what we're trying to do. So coaching is the thing now. So there we go.
Where are you coaching at now?
New Hartford High School, cross country. Yeah, boys varsity cross country. Yeah, nice. And work with the girls program a lot. We want to do a little bit more with that. And kind of combine the programs a bit, kind of like college cross country.
Is this your first year? First year
coaching cross country.
First year coaching cross country. Yep. Nice.
Who'd you take over from?
Bob Bird was the one there before me. So yeah, first year I've been teaching in New Hartford for 19 years, and so first year coaching, it was a fun ride, even with the shortened season and all like the weird requirements and COVID issues.
Sure.
But, we got through. We did it all, and it was good. I was glad to see the kids get something.
When did you know you were taking over that job?
May. Yeah.
So last May.
Yeah.
But the kids weren't in school or anything, so you really didn't have a normal off season like you normally would have.
There was no off season. Yeah. You couldn't. You couldn't gather. You couldn't gather. You text kids and say, "Hey, do some summer running, do some summer training." But any sort of group running, it just wasn't allowed. And there were cases in Syracuse where a football coach gathered his kids, and I don't know if you saw that one. He got dinged with a positive test, and that's the kind of So we definitely saw that, and our AD was out in front of it and said, "Don't. If you're getting together, don't." And nobody was. So you had to really be a rule follower, but you had to do it. So
what goals do you see for the program, and what direction do you want to see it go?
I think a place like New Hartford's really set up for success with cross country. If you follow cross country, track and field, the suburban schools, it sounds snobby and you probably get the New Hartford reputation.
Everyone thinks that.
Yeah, I know.
It was the school to be. It was when I was in school, not to cut. It was the school to be. My coach would say it's a good day when we got to beat New Hartford. So you took over a program that's leading the pack there. Yeah. And
where did you go to school?
Don't worry about that.
Oh, all right. That's all right. I went to Casanova, so I understand, that's perception of, but the New Hartford setup, you get a lot of kids who are into it. They're fit. Maybe sometimes you grab someone who comes from soccer or something like that. Yeah. You find that diamond in the rough. And, I really think I've got a really good core group of young guys. 4 of our top 5 scorers. I'll be back for 2 years, so,
nice.
They're excited. I think they got a little taste of competition this year. We were looking at the TVL results, and I wish I could have got them something bigger, a true invitational type experience. But, the rules were such that you could only have 4 teams per race. So, but they got a taste, and I think they're understanding the process and what a training cycle would look like, even though it was really short and abbreviated. But, the goal was this year to have your best race on the last race, and many of them did. And
good.
With the summer full of training behind us, hopefully, sky's the limit.
Weather was great this season too.
Honestly, it was awesome.
It was 1 week or 2 weeks where it was bad, but other than that, I felt for a lot of the kids who didn't have their season, because I'm sitting there thinking, last week, which should have been, I think, states or even sectionals, for us would have been regionals, and it was 70 degrees.
It was perfect.
I mean, that's what you pray for, and often you're not, rewarded.
Yeah, and we canceled practice one time because there was rain coming through. I think it was like a few Mondays ago. It was like 40 and rain.
Yeah.
and there's 200 kids at Perry Junior High, all spread out over, acres and acres. But, if it starts like that, where do you go inside?
Right.
Where there's a lightning event, you can't social distance. So there's, it was definitely a non-traditional season, but I think kids were thrilled just to have it,
In the cross country world, who's the school to beat? Are you guys at the top, or are you looking up at anybody to kind of go after?
There's Section 3 is a powerhouse running. I don't think a lot of people realize that. And if your viewers are listening, Fayetteville Manlius, I'm sure Eric knows, but Fayetteville Manlius has won 12 of the 13 national cross country meets on the girls' side. So
the girls
seem to be good in all sports, though. FM seems to be good in everything.
They established a program over there. Bill Ayers has been doing it for years. Yeah. So they're the cream of the crop nationwide. Okay. Everybody's got a target on their back. Yeah. TVL, it kind of cycles through. Holland Patton was great for a couple of years. And they still put out some good runners. Actually, they're not in the TVL anymore. I apologize. Camden girls won the state title last year.
Nice.
So they have a girl who's fantastic, and actually I'll brag for Coach Lou at New Hartford. Her girls won section last year.
Definitely.
And, they had a really good shot to repeat this year. They had another girl come on. Their front runner was a girl who never ran cross country before.
Oh man.
And
who was that?
Anna Grusha. And senior, she just put in the work, and she kind of came late, but she ran over the summer, and turns out she was uber
pretty
talented.
Good.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, it's too bad you didn't get to do an invite. And really, she was winning races by, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And I kind of said to her, even though I wasn't a coach, I said, you're the type of athlete in cross country that a college coach would like drool over, you know, in a sense that, you've never run before.
Completely raw talent.
Exactly. And, so you don't have, you don't have miles and miles under you, and you get older, a year older, you're stronger. Those are the type of kids when you talk about like college running.
Did she have aspirations to run in college?
I think so. Yeah.
Really? That's pretty neat.
I think so. Yeah.
Lou's great. We have Mike and I and Eric, obviously we have a great relationship with her. We get a lot of her girls in here for training and everything. So we good communication between her and
she's been fun to work with.
Yeah, she's got what a great duo.
Yeah, we share a lot of training principles and philosophies, and share a lot of the same vision for what running should be. So it's been good to come along and have her as that mentor in that capacity.
Definitely, that's awesome.
I'm going to change up gears a little bit here.
Go for it,
might want to take a sip of your drink there.
Oh, all right, sounds good.
So, where did it start for you? Like in your childhood,
running
with your family, were your parents athletic?
That was my dad got me into running.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those things. I loved basketball when I was a kid, got cut from the 7th grade team, like probably most runners do, who find that we're not good at some sports. So
it was soccer for me. So
like what's left? Running. Let's try that. And we mapped out. We mapped out a little 2-mile loop. I lived in the country, and found a hill. We went up and back, and I did my first Boilermaker when we did it together. I was 13, and so we did it there, and
the big one. You did the big one at 13.
Yeah. There was no such thing as a little one, so I'm old school. There's only one Boilermaker. It's just the 15K. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. The 5K. The 5K counts, but So it's just always done that, and through high school. And I was an okay runner. I wasn't section champ or anything. My best years were actually out of even college. So
I was going to say that because I looked up a little bit of your times, as all runners kind of already have an idea.
Understood.
And I mean, being a coach, you probably have an idea of others, either your age or the kids you're training. 51-24.
Yeah, 24.
That's really good. And that happened after college. Did you run in college?
I went to SUNY Cortland to become an athletic trainer. So,
okay.
And the rules at SUNY Cortland were if you were an athletic trainer, you had to be with the sports team. You know? So,
okay. Yeah.
And being, cross country, indoor, outdoor, you never really had that chance. So I ran as a freshman and a grad student. So I had, a little experience running in college.
Yeah.
And then my first year here, I was 23 and I had some time, and again, the difference between a college runner and a 23 post-collegiate runner and just putting the time in. Jack Daniels was my coach, so not the drink, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So Jack Daniels was my coach,
okay.
And actually, in the years I was there, it was his wife because he was on sabbatical coaching the what was it? The Nike Farm Team, I think. I can't remember what it was called, but he worked with like Bob Kennedy and all these people.
Legendary people. So so explain a little bit more about Jack Daniels, with the importance of this individual.
So yeah, a lot of people maybe don't know Jack Daniels and think of the drink, obviously, but he wrote. He's a fascinating person, and I missed him in my time at Cortland. He taught exercise physiology. He went to the Olympics in 1956 in modern pentathlon.
Yeah. Big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal.
What years were you at Cortland?
97 to 01.
97 to 01. Okay.
And so he was coaching there, and he's been all over the world coaching, and somehow he ended up in Cortland. I still have no idea how he ended up there. Yeah. He wrote the book, Jack Daniels Training Formula, and Runner's World called him the best running coach in the world. And really, if you look back at all the running training programs now, whether it's him or Hansen, I like the Hansen program a lot. A lot of that is based on the foundations that you find in Jack's book. So my personal times, when he trained me, and then I went out on my own, I bought the book. I'm like, well, this worked in college. Let's just run through Jack's program, and it works.
So Jack's program lays out like the essentials of like building a base, and then kind of whittling down to, and different phrases are used here, so don't hit me, like tempo, and then we have like lactic type workouts, and we have like sharpening the tool kind of workouts where it's like repeats, like faster stuff. It kind of has that principle to it, which kind of was laid out by others before him, but he kind of defined what those paces were based on, and he went through the numbers, crunched the numbers, and that's where we get a lot of the fundamental. It's really like the Bible.
Still applicable today?
Not to geek out on it too much, because I could do this all day. But
yeah, with the two of you here, I'm sure that's going to happen.
I showed my guys, like we were working with my guys, and I said, okay, let's do a tempo pace. So we did a long run. The last 10 minutes are going to be a tempo pace.
Yeah.
What's that, coach? I said, okay, well, here's your easy pace. Here's your 5K race pace. Let's meet right in the middle. All right, let's do that. And they kind of got mad at me once. Like I said, nope, that's faster. It's got to be faster. It's got to be faster. It's got to be like, I forget what I told them, whatever number, 730. Like, really, coach? And I said, all right, so let's go. So there's an app now where you can put in your VDOT and all your times, and it spits out exactly where you should be. And it's very scientific and
Was
linear.
he ahead of his time?
I think so.
Yeah.
And it used to be like in the book, you had a chart and you follow it out. And if you follow it, and running's great. So if Eric ran a 4:14 mile, right? Mm-hmm. So you could predict that for the 5K, that runs out to probably 49 minutes or something like that. If you trained for that distance and if you ever did the Boilermaker in your peak shape, you probably would have been about 48 minutes. So, and it's almost always like a linear thing. He can predict where you're going to be. Sometimes that maybe takes the excitement out of it, but it allows you to see what pace you should be working at. What's an effective pace? What does training look like? And
it is tough to get there. I will say, for a lot of those, and I've had coaches throughout the years, as you have, who've kind of lived by that principle. And it takes the coach to bring that book and that information to life and actually put it out on the road and do it. But it is tough, as we're talking about, it is tough to get there and do it, but it is very, it is predictive. It is scary how close you can get to it.
My best year was 2003, and it's an exact line. All my PRs were in 2003, and it follows the line for whatever I think it was a 66 VDOT, and it was like, that's exactly what I should have done. And it's one of those things like, well, I guess I'm running a half marathon. It'll be an hour and 15 minutes. And lo and behold, it was an hour and 15 minutes. And I don't know, maybe that's limiting in a sense. Like, because you're looking at like, well, I should be this pace, and maybe, but it's all physiology too. What the body can crank out, and
I think that using that training method, you're right. Like, what you're doing. You don't have anything left in the tank because you've prepared for that. I know that the various times that I've ran the Boilermaker, and at the end, like, I feel like, oh, I could have done a little bit better. I'm not a runner by any means, but like, I could have done a little bit better. I held up different places, but I didn't really train well for it. I think that the method that you guys are describing, like, that's just not there. You've worked your training for that.
And different people have different goals. I mean, you yourself said you're not a runner. So you maybe didn't scratch all your potential out of that year that you did it, right? No. So, that's the thing. It's like when you go through that cycle and you hit those goals, and, whether you're coaching high school athletes or adult athletes, to see them hit that goal, as a coach, that ends up being pretty rewarding too.
Nice.
Because those 51-minute Boilermaker days are far long gone. So you find that satisfaction watching other people do it now.
What was your fastest?
Not as fast as his. Mine is only like I think it's like a 54:50 or something.
That's not bad though, man.
You crushed me in the mile though. So yeah, we talked about that.
So back to the chart, like mine is a little skewed because of my the fact that I was better at mid distance than I was distance. Mm-hmm. And if I had changed my training adequately, and you'll know this, most high school, college guys don't really train for Boilermaker. By the time they get out of track, it's too late. Mm-hmm. It's either May or June. In 4 weeks, you got to turn around and run a 15K after me training for the mile.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
all right.
And I'm built a little different too for that. But, aside from that, back to the Boilermaker, how many Boilermakers have you done under 60 minutes?
This year, I'm counting this year because even though we're all by yourself, I'm gonna count it because So this was 22. This was 22 in a row under an hour. This one was tough though. This is
so
tough.
Aggressive.
It was hard without people there.
You didn't run with anybody?
Did you do the course?
Did you do the
course? Or did you? Oh, okay, nice.
So there's an unofficial old timers record. Paul Humphrey had it. He's from Whitesboro, and he did 23 in a row. And he told me that like years ago, and I had the 15. I'm like, that's kind of a cool record. I think I want that. Mm-hmm. And so Paul's the inspiration behind that. And this year was going to be tough because we went out. Yeah, with all the stuff, you didn't know if you're going to run or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So a couple guys went out on Boilermaker Sunday. We went out and did it, and I ran like 60 minutes and 11 seconds. But it wasn't like we weren't ready either because we knew September counted. So So we did September, and September 1st, same group went out, and we snuck it in at 58, and I've got the Garmin file to prove it. So, it's within the window of the race.
Haters out there.
That's right. Yes, I have it. Well, I don't want to end up on Marathon Investigation. So that's a you don't want to be on that site. Yeah.
When did you move from the triathlon, from running, gave it away, to the triathlon?
Probably like a lot of people by accident. My sister moved to Lake Placid in 2007. I really didn't know much about it, and she like moved up there. She's like, Mike, you got to come up here. This is crazy. You're gonna love it. And so I went up and watched it, and it was like, if you've ever been up to watch Ironman Lake Placid, it's
wild.
Have you been there?
Yeah. So one summer, that's the only triathlon I've ever seen. But one summer I worked at Northwood hockey camp all summer.
Okay. All right.
And the big weekend was always Ironman weekend.
Oh yeah.
It is. I was talking about it all day at lunch today with one of my buddies because he was just like, I'm going to do an Ironman, and I'm like, no, you're not. Like it's not happening. Yeah. But it's the most beautiful thing. It starts in the morning, and then we're in the dorms at night, and we can hear at 10 o'clock the loudspeaker and people crossing the line, and it's insane. It's motivating.
It's insane. Like, and I had no idea because you walk down there, and I went up like the morning of, and I slept on her couch. And I went down in the morning. It's like 6 a.m. and there's like thousands on Mirror Lake. It's like a stadium.
It's wild.
And there's 3,000 athletes, and everybody's got, they say, 4 to 5 spectators. There's 20,000 people down there. It's 6 a.m. Music's
blaring.
We
had a growler. We were hooking beers. It was
crazy.
Just 8 a.m. It was a party. It was beautiful.
And that day, actually, UC Connection, I ran into Michelle Davis. She was up there. On the course, we went into one of the local taverns that we're watching for a bit. Having a good time.
Nice.
So it was just kind of, I was like, this looks like fun. I could do this. You're kind of cocky. I was like 27, like, that's easy. I can run a marathon in dress shoes and so back then you had to like go the next day and get like a little piece of paper that guaranteed your spot. Mm-hmm. My wife was pregnant with our first child. I said, hey, look what I got. She wasn't too thrilled with the idea. I was like, I got this. And then I went to pool and swam. I was like, it was like humble pie, man. Like, and another UC connection, Erin Knight, ended up coaching me through that. She got me. Yeah, she got me through there. And I don't think she would say what I do is swimming, but so it was just kind of fun to do and try, check it off the list.
So your first triathlon event was the Lake Placid Ironman?
My first witness into it. You did some warm-up triathlons, but my first exposure to the sport was going down there. And a lot of people who do that go down and watch it like, I want to do this. They come from, usually an athletic background or something like that, and they want to put it all together. So
that's so wild.
So it was inspiring to go and watch. For sure.
It sounds like it was because then at some point you decided, I want to be on the other side of this. I want to put it together. And when did that happen?
So that was the year after that. You know, I'd been the Falling Leaves race director for a couple of years. Okay. And it was just that kind of started. I was on the board of the Utica Roadrunners, and they needed someone to do it. And all the hands went down. I'm like, I'll do it, whatever, you know. And after a couple of years, it was
short straw.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of fun. You're like, hey, this is kind of neat. I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed the day of being a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So I got into triathlon, and a good friend of mine, Jeremy Roberts, was a fellow Ironman, and we were kind of looking around.
I know that guy.
Oh yeah,
I'm from Rome.
Oh,
so I ran for RFA, and
all right.
He was a coach, I believe. He coached some athletes in his time.
Lacrosse coach.
Yeah,
good guy. You know, he was he was an Ironman as well, and you know, we had some common friends, and he taught in our school a little bit. And I knew him from coaching. And we're like, man, there's nothing around here. You know, we were kind of surveying the landscape, and Tri was set for a boom that time. I don't think we necessarily knew it yet. We didn't plan on it. But, you know, the triathlon industry grew from 2009 to really 2013. It was explosive growth. And we were looking, we're like, you know, Rome is a great spot. Delta Lake looks like a good spot. There used to be one there years ago. He was very familiar with the area. I had a little bit of expertise from like 1 year worth of working with the Falling Leaves. So we took a year, mapped it out, put it together. And really, it was the only local race between, I want to say it was like Skinny Atlas and Lake George. Wow. There really wasn't anything. So we kind of captured something that needed to be done, because, you know, these mega events like Ironman and Iron Girl was just coming in at the time. So people were looking for training races, you know, the B race to get ready for the A race. And we kind of filled that niche for a lot of people. So
nice. And that's when ATC Endurance came together.
Yeah. And ATC to play off the athletic training. Credential. Where did that come from? I was like, I needed a name for the business. So it just kind of, I didn't even plan on it. It just kind of stuck. We did that for a couple of years. Our first year was great. It was, we had just an intermediate race, which is, oh boy, it's been a while. 1,500 yard swim, and then a 24-mile bike, 6-mile run. And it rained so hard. It rained, and there was 150 people. And it, like, the next day, it was like the all-time city of Rome rainfall record. It was 3 inches, and it was just,
of course,
which honestly, it was great. And Jeremy and I still laugh about it. We always say we're going to write a book about our time doing it, but it probably, the fact that it covered a lot of our mistakes, you know, and some of the things that we may have missed, and people just had a great time playing in the rain. It was warm and it wasn't windy or anything.
That's good.
It was just like funny, you know. You're sitting there like, well, I guess this is the way it is today. And then, like, people knew about us. Like, next year we'd go out and try to promote, like, is that the race where it rained? And it kind of like put us on the map. It made us memorable in our own, not because we were awesome, but just because it was it was such a weird day, you know. So
I've done that one.
Oh yeah,
did it twice actually.
Oh no kidding. What years?
That's a good question. It was either 2012, or in 2013, or it was 2011, 2012.
All right.
I think it was.
Were you still in college then? Was that there?
It was right before college, and that was what kind of spurred my interest. That I kind of felt was a turning point for some of the longer distance stuff that the coach I was going to run under thought I could do. Turns out I should have had a mileage plan a little less than that, but. That was, it was right before, leading up to my freshman year of college. So yes, would have been 2012 and 2013 were the years I did.
Right.
I did a sprint one just because at that point I didn't have enough time to train. And at 17, 18, I mean, I had the same mindset as some of the other people starting off, like, I'm just going to get in pool and swim because I've ridden a bike before and I'm pretty decent at running. And it turns out that 2 of the 3 things were very hard because I've never done those enough. And the running was the only thing I banked on. And I can tell you that I was getting past, because in those races you have the age, you have your age, I believe, on your right calf.
Yes.
So I'm pedaling and I'm watching these guys fly by me. I'm like, how old is that guy? He's like 40? Jesus. Man, I'm having a tough time. And then I get off the bike and I start the run, and then, you know, you go right by him. And that was when I kind of learned, like, maybe this isn't for me. But it was fun to do. It was a blast. It was a great variation in training.
And there's some studs in the area, you know, of all ages. We had a girl, actually, Katie Zafaris was her name. Her maiden name was something else, but she came to the race, and Jeremy was the lead out. Yeah. And she almost won the race overall and beat the top male, which was unheard of.
Sure.
got a silver medal in the Olympics, actually. So, that was her first race. She was a PG runner out of Syracuse University. So Syracuse, and same thing. She was a runner, and she probably had great success the first race, and her rise was,
So you're saying there's hope.
I mean, I'm telling you, there's all kinds of, in all the ages, and there's so many ways to compete in that sport, just like any sport, really.
Yeah.
But,
that's what I felt when I was watching the Ironman up there. I was seeing some of the body types and the ages, and I'm like, how are these old guys doing it? And they're like, I mean, they dominate it. They're able to do it.
And you go to the Boilermaker, and you watch the first 200 people coming to the Boilermaker. They don't look. They look all the same.
Yeah, hardly different. The stride looks the same.
Yeah,
Look the same
body type. And you go to Ironman, and there's people. One of our best athletes, probably over the time, he's a nationally ranked. He's 60 years old, Blake Ford, and he's just an absolute machine. He does the swim and the bike. He does an aqua bike, and he's every year he'd be second out of the water behind the one kid who was there ahead of him, who was a Division I swimmer. Wow. So, and he's 60 years old, and he just absolutely crushed it. Yeah. And on the bike too, same thing. He just pulls away,
That's
so
wild.
there's phenomenal athletes in that sport, and especially something like cycling that doesn't beat you up. I think, you see a lot of people get into that sport late, and same thing, like meteoric rise. And yeah, I never had that in triathlon, but
I'm busy directing.
I know people who've done it.
So you can't be bothered with.
Yeah.
Well, I will say my time spent doing the triathlon was I loved from the packet pickup to the end of the race. It was a really well put together event, actually. And I, on a very much smaller scale, I've directed 2 races. It was when I was at Utica College in the PT program. It was called the Everyone Can Play 5K. It was geared more towards individuals of every level of ability. Mm-hmm. So we offered like a half mile, mile, and a 5K. Mm-hmm. And again, on a smaller scale, but being on the other side of it, I can share some of the same kind of anxiety on race day. Is everything together? Who's doing what? And it's kind of just really cool.
You did a good job.
I appreciate it. I wanted it to be really well put together because I wanted people to show up and think, oh, they did this. This is what we're going to see when we get there. Not like, oh, they anticipated 100 people, so they built it for 100 people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Okay. And I think I felt the same way, and that might have been inspired from the way I had participated in your triathlon. I kind of felt like, wow, this is a really big thing. This is well put together. It seemed pretty smooth. And I took some of that inspiration when I did mine.
Yeah, thanks. So, there's a lot, when you do races, you kind of see what people do well, things that you want to do different. It was kind of nice to put your plan together. That was a really satisfying aspect of that business and the time that we did it. But as we got older, we were looking at kind of like, just the stress of doing it. For a while, we had 5 events.
Super stressful.
We had 5 events. It was great. And it was just one of those things, the kids were getting older, and it's like, we already have full-time jobs, and, all the people who were my assistant race directors, like Jeremy, we had 3 kids. Each of us had 3 kids. So it was like, what are we doing this for? So we sold it to another gentleman, Mark Wilson, who, couldn't have a race this year, unfortunately, but it sounds like he was picking up where we left it.
How many race you had? Still 5 courses that you guys were
we left the last year we went down to 2.
Okay.
We had one in Old Forge, we had one in Cooperstown. The Old Forge one just got too busy. It was really difficult to do that safely with the town. They wanted us to avoid go after Labor Day, but after Labor Day people start thinking. It gets cold
too, man.
Yeah, it gets cold. And people are back in school, and tri-season kind of wraps up.
Right.
After Labor Day, people kind of put their bikes away.
So they didn't want it during.
It was tough too.
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Because there's not a lot of a lot of roads to bike on, and
they'd have to shut down more.
In the last year we did it, it was like it was a zoo, because it was like a 75 and sunny degree day in August, and everybody was converging on town.
Yeah,
it was just one of those things. I'm like, I'm looking at Jeremy. I'm like, we're probably not going to be asked back here. So,
how does Placid get away with it? Is it just because it's just such a huge event up there? I mean, everything's so right. Yeah.
I want to say that if you look at the numbers, I want to say the economic impact of that event is 10 million cycled through the community 3 times. So God. It's
all right.
There you go.
It's
Old Forge doesn't care.
Well, and Old Forge didn't need us. Ultimately,
but what a night that would have been. I've been following triathlons a lot, and I've always said I was going to do one and pull the trigger, and I haven't yet. But that would be That would have been a nice one.
It was our best course. The lake.
Yeah,
is
just
up
seems
there.
it just seems like the
awesome.
layout is perfect for it.
Yeah, but hey, it is what it is. That's what we kind of said, and and we had Cooperstown was great. Down in the Glimmerglass Park down there, so it's really scenic and fun. So
that's really cool. I've been down there a number of times and felt that was a place. I think they need a college down there too.
It looks like a college town.
It does. Yeah. And you're surprised, like, there's nothing there. So
it's got that vibe of a college town.
If I had a trust fund, that's probably what I would do. Try to start. If you're interested.
Yes. Well, I'm just a teacher now. So you got the wrong guy.
Did you do the one up in Chameau? There was a race up in Chameau, up Lake Ontario-ish, and it was in the fall, like September time. There's a try up there, a little sprint try. My folks have a camp up there, so I would see that one. I didn't know but man, like swimming open water Lake Ontario that's scary. That's gotta be rough.
I know a lot of people do like ocean swims and things like that, and I don't know. I'm not a strong swimmer to begin with, so I'm like, Mirror Lake. That's great. Where are you going in Mirror Lake?
No sharks. Everything's good.
You could see everything. No current, no chop. That's easy. So
I can't do sharks. No. I can't do that.
Currents, rip currents. Rip currents.
So you'd have a hard time with Hawaii if you were gonna.
Well, it's not so much the Hawaii one. Well, but there was a San Francisco, the Alcatraz one, the Escape from Alcatraz. They spotted a great white. They spotted a great white in the middle of their course.
You've seen some of the swells in the bay over there too. No, I'm not doing that. I don't know if they've had a drowning there or not. There was something like that. There was a couple years of when mass participation. There was some really interesting stuff about, and it was fit men in their 50s, and it was like hyper competitive fit men in their 50s, and they go and they're going from a resting heart rate, and then they get prone, and boom, they're competing for a Kona slot, and their heart just blows up, literally. So
that is brutal.
There was a couple of years. I don't think it was at Alcatraz though. Okay. There was a couple others, but that's the hyper competitive athlete. And fit people too. A lot of people think it's like untrained people, but no, it was.
It can happen to anyone.
Yeah, it was kind of scary, but
that's wild.
Yeah. So, but they come across that and they found some protocols, warming up and doing some other things to give yourself an active warm up and get going. So, there's been some interesting stuff. Luckily, it's a little safer now, I think. So
you're all done. You're all done with ATC Endurance as a race director for the triathlons. You're all done.
That
How many years did you do it?
9.
9 years.
Yeah, we thought about going to 10, but it was time.
Yeah,
it was time to hand it off. We didn't want to have the quality of the event suffer. We wanted it to be,
it's a big thing.
And this guy Mark Wilson, he had experience in the industry, and he bought it from us. And again, he did it in 2019. Didn't get to have it this year, but
is he planning on keeping it local?
Yeah,
keep some of the local races.
Yep.
Does he have a vision? I mean, to have you speak for him, I don't know.
Yeah.
But is expansion, or is it keeping?
He has a host of races. He's from down southern tier, like south of Buffalo, southern tier. So he has a bunch of races across the state. The pandemic hit the running triathlon events industry, as you can imagine, really hard. So how people come back out of that and what it's going to look like is going to be really interesting. 2021 should be a challenging year. I
bet people are just so pent up and want to do something that you could throw whatever out there and they're going to bite at it.
Well, I think that's what you're seeing, to be honest. I've had a number of people who either lift with me as a part of the run group we do here for lifting in the evening, or just in the community, and they're doing like the 5K jingle jog or something, and I'm like, I thought that was just a hangover type 5K, man, but now we're getting competitive.
No, now it's serious.
Now we're training for it, and you're doing some rehab, like, all right.
Yeah, it used to be the ugly sweater, go hit up the pub after.
I think those race directors are going to get a little overwhelmed, to be honest.
They are,
and because they could sneak it in during this thing. I mean, we're seeing a change now, but these people already signed up, and it's like, oh man, I guess they
virtual events. The virtual events are always going to. I think there's always going to be a piece that's going to be tied in, as an event director side. I think people really found online communities and virtual events, and they found some fulfillment and satisfaction through that. So that, if you look at maybe 5 years from now, if you look at maybe what good came out of this from that industry, I think a refocus on health. I don't know if you guys see that in your practice here or whatnot, but I hope that's what I hope as a health teacher. I would hope that people okay,
it seems to keep people going.
I hope so.
That seems to be the bottom line. Like that's really I decided to keep going, and then it was a friend thing. Maybe I have a friend who does that, but not everyone has a Garmin necessarily, and so there's that kind of line, or is on Strava or one of these things. But I mean, they seem, most of them seem to make it happen. So
yeah, I think people were getting into it. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Question to shift it a little bit. What do you do in a day, a week, a period of training, nutrition, strength? What do you do?
Oh man. Well, I think part of my longevity over the years is that I don't do much in September, October, November. I'm starting to get a little, I stay out of running. I stay active. Started mountain biking with my son, so that's been pretty fun.
So you got an off season.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of a training plan.
And usually after Boilermaker, even though it's the nicest time of the year, I kind of shut it down. I'll go for runs and just kind of take my Garmin off, which is sacrilege to most people. But
you gotta know it's the only way to train, man. Listen, I grew up on a track. It was splits. It was all this. So to have a Garmin on my watch is alien to me too.
Yeah. So just kind of take it easy the rest of the summer, hang out, and then usually about January, February, I start to ramp up again. The Boilermaker's always been my A race, and I've done a few marathons over the years, and I don't know, as you get older and your times get slower, it's do I want to break my chops for a marathon again? So,
right.
So Boilermaker's great, and kind of work on some speed and try to stay in that 5K, 15K, but
So when you got to bring on the A game and you got to get hard for the Boilermaker because you're man, I've done a bunch under 60 and I got to keep it there. For the nutrition, for people who want to know what do you eat in? Is there a strength training component, or is there an alternate training category other than our cardio?
That's where I'm bad. That's where and I probably all these years strength training, I tried it, and this sounds terrible. I just don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. I don't.
That's okay.
And part of it, I think if I grew up in the era that did more of the functional things, I'm sure you guys do here.
Yeah,
and, you look at what some of the athletes, it's more functional. I grew up in the 90s. It was get on the
football workouts in the garage, and that's squat, bench, deadlift.
But it looks like a lot more fun now, and you look at some of these principles of TRX bands, CrossFit type things, and it looks like I would have enjoyed that more. But yeah, strength training has never been something I do. I know I should do, especially as I age. So that's something I maybe that's the
don't feel like you gotta be dishonest here. We want your honest.
No, that's honest. I don't do much strength training. Yeah, that's very honest.
So I guess here's a question for you. Were your parents athletes?
Not really.
Not really.
My dad started running with me.
Okay.
He was. He'll tell you he was. He was overweight, when he had us, and then he started running, dropped a bunch of weight. He's still going. He's done every Boilermaker since 1992.
Yeah.
I missed 1 year. I had a broken fibula, so I missed 1 year, but he's always done it. My mom's not an athlete, but she encouraged us along the way.
Yeah. How are and your children? Do they have the same genetic makeup where they could kind of go I'm just trying to figure out how you're built
to be determined, that's the thing. I've got, if anyone has kids, you think they're all going to be the same, but they're totally different too.
You have three, and all three are kind of different.
All boys.
Yeah, all boys. Okay.
My oldest, he's my daredevil. Yeah. He's the one who was skiing at 3, didn't want any help. I got it, Dad, and just go down the hill. And he's still like that. He's the one we got him into the Waterville Mountain Biking Club, which has been fantastic for him.
Nice.
So he's into that now, and he's doing some stuff that's you're kind of saying a few Hail Marys. He's going,
yeah.
But he got me into that sport, so that's kind of fun now, a new sport for me to pick up. And then my middle, he likes the team sports, and he hasn't been able to do much of them, obviously.
Right.
And then my last one, he's really gotten into swimming. He liked that. He did lacrosse for a while. He's a good little athlete, but he hasn't found his niche yet either. But he's only in 4th grade, so he's got some time to figure it out. But
it's fine. have two little ones, 3.5 and 2 years old, and just watching them develop and grow. I'm curious to see what they're going to turn into as far as athletes, if they're going to enjoy that stuff, if they're going to do team sports or not team sports.
And my philosophy,
a wild ride.
Yeah, my philosophy as a parent is like, you gotta move. And I would say that I would say that to a kid. I would say that to someone my age. I would say that to my parents. You gotta move. If you're not moving, I don't care what you do.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of our world. In a way, for depending on the group or the characteristic of the patient we're treating, whether they're 80, 60, 40, 20, etc.
You stop moving. I mean, that's it. It's over.
Kind of. Yeah.
So whatever it is you choose to do, and like my oldest, he ran cross country this year, modified. But those non-traditional sports, he skis, he mountain bikes, and so he may not fit into like that school sport mold, but he's fit.
Stuff,
he's fit. And
I see my son. We have a circle driveway, and I see my son he's just doing laps. And I grew up playing soccer, hockey, and baseball, so the track and cross country thing was not there, but I just see him doing laps, and I'm like, this kid's going to be a sprinter. This kid's going to be something. He just enjoys going around and chase me, Daddy, chase me.
It's the best sport. It's the best sport. I mean, we're biased, of course.
It's a cheap.
But now, I got to build in a coach here for him.
There you
go. Take Cole to the nationals or whatnot.
So the variability is important there. I got a question for you though, kind of honesty too. Have you ever had any setbacks, or major injuries? I mean, life has its own setbacks. We've all been in a position where it's like, this season's going to be tough because I'm starting a new biz or a company, or I'm starting a new thing, or whatever it is. But for you, have you had major setbacks, injury related, and what did it take?
And one of the things, that's a good question. One of the things I always talk to some of my adults that I coach now, and people say the similar things like, what was your best performance? I really think for me, if I look at my trajectory as an athlete, I think I'm probably one of the few people who can say I hit my potential. I think I got everything out of what this body could do. I'm a little big for a runner, you talk about body image and all that stuff. I mean, a runner is supposed to be 2 pounds of body weight for every inch of height or something.
Male distance runner is 5'8" and 135 pounds. Right?
I'm 165 when I'm in shape, so I'm overweight for a runner. But so whatever, and I don't even care about that. That's not important. But if I look at my times, I'm like, that's as good as I could have gotten. 1 year when I ran my best marathon in 2003, I had qualified for a Boston time, and just that hubris of being a young man. I was like, I was running long runs. I was playing racquetball at Brookside, the old Brookside, and I had like an 18-mile run, and I played 2 racquetball games, and then lo and behold, my Achilles blew up on me, and it not ruptured, but I should back up. I'm talking to PTs, but it was twice the size of the other one. I'm like, that hurts, and you try to run through it. You be bullheaded. Boston's in April, and it was like February. I'm like, I'm gonna keep training. It never got better. So, it would have been nice to go to Boston in my best shape at 24 years old, coming off a good performance, to see what I could do. But, that's just one of those hard-headed things that, sometimes you got to listen and say like,
just get better. No matter what happens, I fall prey to the same kind of thing. If I run, I push through it. It's fine. It'll get better. And then sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And
I think when you're in the health profession, you're the worst patients.
Probably.
So bad.
People would think that we know how to do it. Like we live it every day. It's like physician, heal thyself. But you know what? The other side of that coin is, I've seen how bad it can get and what you can get away with. And let me tell you, as a competitive athlete, that's the easiest thing to see before you see the other side. And I've fallen, to that. I'm sure you have.
Oh my God,
So it sounds like you have too. So
and one of my papers was a 20-page paper on Achilles tendon ruptures, and as it was getting bigger and bigger, not getting better, I'm like, I'm probably like one like step over a curve, one push off where they get that that dorsiflexion and snap, and there it goes. So I'm like,
I tell you, that's got to be one of my biggest fears, is because you hear it when they come in here. I've had multiple occasions where they're just playing basketball and getting towards that age range where it just happens. You're out there doing something and you feel like someone comes up and kicks you and there's nobody around. And you're just like, shit. There that goes.
There that
goes. Just walk into the operating theater, man.
Just go to the friends and say, here, zip me up, bud. God.
Yeah. So that was probably my biggest setback, just because I didn't, would I have done? Who knows? But so I really think I got everything out of what I could have done. So
isn't that rare?
I think it is.
How many people have you seen like yourself like that? You know they're there, whether you've coached them, whether they're your friends, and you just, and it's a feeling like none other.
It's going to be a great feeling.
And I feel you've probably, because you played soccer.
Yeah, but I look back on my collegiate soccer career and I didn't have the things that were available now weren't available then. Yes. And I went into just running, sprinting, and just doing ball work without the importance of strength training and things like that. And I think about what I could have done with even in this area now, the club soccer availability that's everywhere. I mean, there was one club then, and you didn't get on it at all. And no indoor places. And now there's 3 different indoor places and however many, training facilities like ours. And it's different. These athletes today have, they have it made.
The potential to reach that feeling.
Yes. Yep.
And maybe some of like the individual sports, the running sports, is maybe easier to achieve that. And it's outside of a team environment, just you can push and the facility's not as big of an obstacle. Yeah. And, I can honestly look back and say, I think I got everything I could. So.
That's awesome.
That's huge. That is like the epitome of I think the phrase like the race has been run. Like I ran my race. That's what I did. I made it all the way to the potential I had, to what I thought I could do. I felt that in the mile, in my middle distance stuff. And as I move away more towards the distance stuff, I know I have potential there where I never did it. I never competed in those distances, so I know there's still time there for me to achieve that. But I felt that feeling, and I remember my last race specifically in college, and I remember feeling like the race has been run, and I can move on. And that's a very few people live with that sense of peace, knowing that they did that.
I used to have a goal like my first marathon. I did a 2:39, and I was in shape to do a 2:32 according to Daniels, and I was right on. And I hit mile 22, and you hit the wall, you blow up.
Sure. Yeah.
And, before that, I was like 2:32 at the time. Olympic trials was like 2:22. Not that I would go to the Olympics, but like that'd be kind of cool.
It's there.
It's there. And Sam Morse was a kid from Camden. He just did the Atlanta. He was in Atlanta, did the trials. How cool was that? But
my dad worked with that guy.
Oh yeah,
in Camden. He worked at International.
Oh no kidding. Yeah.
He's down the hall from.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Absolute stud.
Yeah. I think Sam would probably tell you the same thing for him. He's a big guy too. He probably looks back and he got to trials. He's probably, he's 36 now. So he's probably like, I think I got everything I could. So, so maybe if I could have got there, but then at that point, you're talking about quitting your job. And,
right.
I'm 25 years old, so I think, it's nice to have a satisfied feeling. So
cool.
Moving on to the coaching a little bit. What do you think makes, because you've coached for a while, I've coached adults in high school and college, which we're going to get to at the end. And so what makes a really good running or triathlon coach? Take your time to think about this, because there's a difference between what it takes to be a really great football coach. It's not just the sport difference. And there's similarities between the two, not to pull on the opposite ends here, but I'd say in terms of kind of the sport, they're kind of different. What makes a really good running coach in your opinion? And do you have any of those characteristics yourself?
That's a good question. I think running coach, when you're coaching college or high school, you've got a group of 30 guys, right, that you're responsible for. So the tough part of that is, obviously you have your principles and your training principles and your VDOT and your Jack Daniels stuff and your workouts, but not everyone's going to respond the same way.
No, absolutely. How do you get them to do that?
So how do you do that, right? So you've got the base, and So you got your base knowledge, and maybe someone can respond to some higher mileage on their own. Maybe there's a kid, and that in high school, that is few and far between, maybe some kids do really great just running 15, 20 miles a week, but really high quality miles. So take your principles, adjust and adapt. You can't really be pigeonholed into this one thing, this one frame of reference. That's what I would say for teams. That's tough. That's tough to try to keep it individual, but keep the sense of community together. Doable, but it's tough. You got to listen to your athletes and kind of respond to that too.
So the individualization is important, and I respect that you do that, because high school coaches sometimes have the one size fits all. So but it's how do you get that athlete? How do you look them in the eye on race day to some kid who's 16 years old and say, I want you to go out and really push until you hurt? Like, how do you, football team, the coaches, every single practice that we've seen here, whether it's lifting or our coaches have seen over at Utica College, I mean, discipline is like of the highest order when it comes to that. And running is definitely different. I wouldn't say the biggest thing I would give running as a sport is you have to have heart.
Yeah.
If you don't have heart, you're going to have a hard time. How do you coach that?
It's funny. My saying this year, I tried to make a catch. I don't know if they liked it very much, with learn to hurt.
There you go.
Sometimes you got to learn to hurt a little bit. And I had some kids this year, especially, they came from football, and they wanted something to do.
Right.
And I told them, I said, football is a sport where it's like a physical get punched in the mouth kind of pain, whereas this is like, I want to give up kind of pain.
Yeah.
So how much can we push you to feel that in practice at a track session, where you can feel that before you get to a race and do that, So that's a tough part. Can you feel that in practice?
It's more acute in football and hockey and those sports. I mean, you're going into the corner knowing like you might get smoked or you're going to be hitting someone. Whereas running, you're just beating yourself up over and over.
A lot of people don't realize, I think maybe a lot of parents and runners even themselves don't realize, is like how hard a 5K is. Like, we think of the 5K as like, couch to 5K and go out and jog it. And that's great. That mindset is great.
Do we need
but it's getting people moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Like, to my original point, you got to move, right? But to be an athlete and to put yourself in a red zone for 15 minutes where your heart wants to explode, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, I can honestly say, Ironman was easy, because you're just going,
Yeah, it's more of a completion thing.
Yeah, you're just going, and that the day itself wasn't hard, but you have to race a Boilermaker, to race a marathon, to race a 5K.
And how many
really
times
hard,
in your career have you done that?
Marathons?
No.
Just to where you felt that that level concept. Of competition, that level of competition or whatnot.
I mean, boy, especially when you're competitive, you want to try to feel that every time. You know, you want to try to get spent to the line and feel it. But
you know how many times has that really? I can tell you from my experience, and I've only done track stuff, right? So limited here, but I can tell you maybe 4 to 5 really good times, and those are my best races. Maybe at a broader scheme,
you just
10 to 15 where I really put out, but it just didn't all come together. But those 4 to 5 times it did. So it comes down to maybe 2 or 3 per event, right?
Yeah, I've had probably about the same 4 or 5 perfect races where it came together, and at the end you were spent and you executed your plan, and that's the stuff, to get back to coaching, that's the stuff you practice. That's what you learn in practice. That's what learning to hurt means. Psychologically, like I'm not like a rah get in your face kind of guy, like let's go, like that's not an authentic personality trait of mine. Some people are really good at that. A football coach by his very nature is very good at that. And I told the guys that, like, listen, I'm not a rah-rah type of guy. I'm trying to give you everything during the race.
So what do you use?
During practice.
So what do you use? If you're not, what are you then?
I said, we're ready. The hay's in the barn. That's an overused saying. I never said that. But, your preparation, your training, you are ready for this moment. You're here. You're ready. I'm not, I don't feel like you need me to yell and scream. Maybe some kids do need that. And that could be a shortcoming of mine, perhaps. But
you said it's not authentically you.
Right. Yeah. I think people would see through that and say that's fake,
Yeah.
Like, what's trying to,
and it wouldn't come across as they wouldn't. And high schoolers they know more than they think sometimes, because they can see that.
But I think they would see right through that too.
Yeah.
Say that's not authentic. But to get them to believe in that sort of stuff and to see, like, okay, look, here's where you're getting. Here, do you see the improvement? Here's where you're getting better. And a lot of the kids this year had some improvement.
To believe that they can learn to hurt or push into that red line and hold and hold and hold and hold until even beyond when they see the clock. It's not when you see the clock.
And it's okay.
When you finish,
it's okay to feel that way. It's totally fine.
That's where it's supposed to live.
Learn to hurt.
Yeah.
I stole that from a kid I coached as an individual, a Roman, this year. He was training for the Boston Marathon. He wanted to go under 250.
Who is it?
Taylor Yerrick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 29.
I'm not familiar.
You're not familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's relatively new to running. And he had a Boston time, and I coached him to last year. So we were getting ready for Boston. Obviously, the pandemic hit. And he was the perfect person to coach, because adults, you can really narrow in on that individual aspect.
Yeah, that's literally
so
what
like I don't have to worry about training you like I trained the 25 other people. So like he did every workout, he did everything, and all his races kept taken away. So we went out to the Canal Trail. Me, Jeremy, and Taylor got together. We were on our bikes and we had a GPS watch, and we said, all right, let's go. So we started in Whitesboro. He ran to Rome, did a loop around Rome, and came back. And it was unbelievable. It was inspiring to be on his bike, because he put himself all by himself, right? We were on the bike and we were giving him water and stuff like that, so he was supported, but he did that all himself. I mean, he was averaging, what was his split? I can't remember the split off the top. I think it was like 607. Just 607, 607, nice. 607,
yeah,
607.
Like clockwork.
And it didn't even look like he was breaking stride. And
that's how you know.
And he did it. You do the marathon pace runs, you do the long runs, and we would cycle and do back-to-backs, and like, this is how you feel right now. In a marathon, there's going to be like 3 times where you want to give up, and it's very temporary. It's very temporary. Fight through it, learn to hurt a little bit, and then you're going to feel great. And he exemplified that perfectly. So he taught me that this summer when we were on the Canal Trail. So I tried to bring that on. So it's not like a rah get in your face, but you did this. Now let's do it on race day, So
is that what so if you had to sit back here and you had your group of guys, you're doing the warm up, they do their chant, they do their cheer, they do their team, whatever, their run outs before the start of the line. So when you're on race day and you're there and you usually do your warm ups, I'm not sure how you have your team do it, but this is why I've done it for years, is you do your warm ups on the line, and then you have a couple run outs, a couple strides, kind of push kind of quick, and then you get out there and there's usually a team chant. There's something historic or dumb or something, and then the coach comes out and delivers the speech that's supposed to get you to where you need to be. What do you do?
I let them do the chant. I let them do all that stuff.
But when it comes to your moment to get them to learn to hurt, what does Mike Brych say to these kids?
I say, well, and again, I hate to, I probably repeating myself here a little bit, but like, guys, that's what we work for. You work for this moment. Go take it. Go take what's yours.
Take it. That's awesome.
And you know exactly what to do. You know what you're capable of. You have learned to hurt. Now go do it. Pick your spot in the race. I'll be out here. I'll tell you where to go. We talk about race tactics and surging a little bit, and I try to instill them that they should be confident and do that. Unfortunately, we only had I only saw them for 7 weeks.
Yeah,
it's tough. And the seniors, I had a couple great seniors. They're never going to get the full aspect of that, but to try to get the young guys to buy in, and if they're watching this, you're buying in. You got it. Right? You're learning it, right?
You have no choice.
I got a couple kids, right? But I think over time it just becomes a confidence thing, And you look at like Bill Aris at FM. I don't get the thing like he's a big rah type of guy either, but you just do it. It's the fairest sport in the world. You put the work in, you're gonna get it out.
Absolutely.
So.
Is there in the I know it's an individual sport, but there is a team aspect to it.
Certainly.
Are there captains? Are there things like that, like leaders on the team that kind of push the younger kids? Does that happen in that sport? I don't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, nice.
It's been every part of it. A lot of the times, my coaching, even at UC, we were a new program, so everybody was new. So sometimes you don't name a captain because you want to see who's gonna step up, who's gonna be that guy, that girl. This year again being so short, it was kind of like that. We didn't even name a captain per se, but we let the leaders kind of take lead, and and by the way, you need leaders, you need followers. And one's not more valuable than the other, but
without titling you as the coach, direct that too. It's from the second you say so and so leads the warm up, everyone's They know.
Yeah. And that's being established, as a young coach, young program in that sense. That's the stuff that really takes place. Who knows what's going to happen with indoor this year? Probably nothing. There's no place to go.
Will you be doing that as well? Or are you just doing cross country?
No, just cross country.
Okay.
I struggle with that a little bit. It's tough to maybe give up some of your guys in cross country to other coaches, but the coaches there are good. They know what they're doing. It's one of those things. If I didn't have a full-time job and 3 kids and a wife, I would love to give that a shot. Maybe that's my retirement gig, But
coaching is. I had a little short stint with coaching soccer, and yes, it's just the fall, but like you said, I mean, it's year round. It's really truly year round. You're making preparations in the off season for your regular season. That regular season part's easy. Yeah. That's the easy thing. It's the games. It's the fine tuning. But if you're just showing up on August, you're doing a disservious to your kids.
And that's something that sports and athletics. I mean, I'm 41. I don't know how old you guys. I know you're just out of college. I don't know, Ryan.
38.
You just say you're 25. Yeah. So do I. There's nothing wrong with 25. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks, babe.
Thanks. But I mean, I think sports have changed so much since we were in high school.
Yeah.
And it is, not sure how I feel about that. Probably a topic for another podcast. But,
is high school sports even a thing anymore? I mean, there's kids that are getting D1 offers and they've barely played a high school. Yeah. It's wild.
I fear, and again, you can change the topic, but I fear for high school sports. I think the pandemic, especially, might just be something that pushes those kids out
to the
high school sports and right to the clubs.
Well,
I
know personally for me, like when I was growing up playing hockey, I grew up playing in New Hartford youth hockey, and then Notre Dame didn't have a team of its own, so we combined with Rome Catholic. So whenever we would play Proctor, Whitesboro, New Hartford, it was like a home game for everyone at New Hartford or everyone at Notre Dame to come, and you'd come and you'd play New Hartford in their barn, and it was packed, like you couldn't move. A couple of years ago, one of my buddy's kids was playing on New Hartford, and I wanted to go watch them. They were playing Whitesboro that night, and I said, Don, I can't. I'm going to be 15 minutes late. There's no way I'm getting in. He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
I go, Don, what do you mean? It's New Hartford, Whitesboro. I mean, I walked in, there was nobody there. But all the kids are playing juniors, or they're playing this, or they don't want to do it at all. Like,
again, if you want to shut this conversation down, I have a ton of experience with that. Like, my son, I hadn't gone to a New Hartford basketball game in years, decades, since I was the athletic trainer. My son played basketball, and New Hartford played Proctor. So I'm like, that'll be awesome. Let's go.
What a game.
Great. And normally that New Hartford gym was wall to wall. And we walked in, and like there was it used to be 2 student sections. Now there was like a half of a student section. And we were sitting behind the bench. There was nobody there. And I'm looking around. I'm like, it's quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And I'm just like, what's going on? I think philosophically, high school sports, sports like football will be okay. Running will be okay. Yes. There's not an infrastructure for running. But you look at, used to always be just hockey did that. Now soccer is going that way. Lacrosse is going that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder what it's going to look like in 5 years. And
there is. I'll interject here. I have a buddy down in Virginia. Works at Purcellville. Down in Purcellville, they have a high school team that rivals Fayetteville Manlius. I don't know the name of the high school because they don't know the name of the town right off the top of my head. But they rival because he talked to me. He was like, you wouldn't believe it. This team rivals FM. I'm like, buddy, you're just down in some podunk place. What are you talking about? And then I looked it up and I was like, okay, you're right.
Sure.
And they have a club team because pandemic hit, high school shut down, boop, they're the club team. But FM has the same thing, right? Head coach coaches the club team, Syracuse Steltons. So not that they would filter their kids over that program, so to say, but, they do what needs to get done, as this team did. So they met a couple times a week per regulations of that state, and they were able to practice under the guise of a club team. So it doesn't happen often, but it will happen at that higher level.
And what's going to happen to kids who can't afford that?
Right.
Oh, yeah. And that it probably has the same socioeconomic status as Fayetteville Manlius does, which is a huge gap compared with the rest of Syracuse. So,
So you wonder. You wonder what that means for sports. I mean, I don't know. That's, like I said,
that's a whole
getting off topic, but it's stuff I think about. Being around sports for as long as I have. That makes you feel old to say that, but it's true. It makes you think. So yeah. All right. Sorry. Go ahead. Feel free to change the subject.
Story time.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So,
you warned me about this.
Yeah.
One, so all right.
They are women.
Are my kids gonna watch this? Yeah.
We're gonna bleep it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh yeah. Wow. You heard about that.
I'll
Is
give
that
you
a birthday one.
No.
Explain when you explained it to me. It's probably a good.
So it was the hockey player's fault. Yeah.
So here we go. Yeah. Okay, so that's a different story. So I heard so for story time, so I was on a team that had this phrase for all 4 years, and I carried it until 2017. And I always wondered what the origin of this phrase was.
Oh my God!
And
still stuck around?
That's what I thought it was
a decade.
Like,
and so I talked to this guy. His name is Birthday. Actually, his name is Jeff.
Yeah.
And so he told me the story of it was one of your invitationals in the fall, and the women's team was leading and correct me if I'm wrong, was leading the pack, and the race official told them to go the wrong way.
No, it was the hockey players. The hockey team at Hobart William Smith were the course marshals, and they said this way when they should have went that way. Yeah.
So because of this, the girls were not able to finish in the places they were in, which would have won them the invitational. Big program win for you, for the team, for everything. And so fired up as I heard the story was, fired up as Mike Brych at 27 years old was, went over to the boys team, and at that time the motivational speech was a bit different, and it was something like, you guys better bust your ass out there because they are women.
Yes.
And that stuck around for the better part of 10 years because we thought it was in relevance to something else.
It wasn't bad at all. Yeah, it wasn't nearly what you probably thought it was.
But I thought
we had no idea.
So he was telling me he was going to ask you about this story. I go, tell me about this story first. Yeah. And then he told me about it, and I was like, it was great. The fact that him being a younger runner years after the fact, and you're
that's interesting. You never know. You never know.
Who was they? Like, that was the question. Like, who was they? And he always assumed it was something else.
Yeah. Well, and back then when we started UC, there was the brainchild was a cross country only conference, which I loved. It was great because we didn't have a track program. We only had cross country. So to have a UC or a Hobart or there was about 8 schools that were in this CCOC conference, and like we kind of took it as a big deal. It was like-minded programs, because Geneseo, Cortland's of the world that were winning national titles. They have track programs. They recruit a different type of kid, and they have year-round facilities, all that fun stuff. So the CCOC was a big deal, and the women were having a great year. The men were always pretty decent. We had a couple of really good runners on the men's side, and this year in particular, the women were having their breakout year, and we're like, this is the year we're going to get them. This is who we wanted. And it was going well at mile 2 or whatever it was. I can't even tell you which one. And then they all went the wrong way. And so the girls were like, what happened? And they're like, they told us to go this way. I'm like, oh, how curious. And I was mad. I was mad. And you probably play it up a little bit more in the moment. And I was mad. And I said, like, I can't believe it. I did, you're not thinking, you let it. You let it rap. Choice of. I definitely wouldn't say that to a high school team. So
it's different time. It's a different time.
2007.
Man. And again, you talk about it, maybe go back to the authentic part of it.
So that went around for 10 years. I mean, like,
and they probably laughed and they remember it because it wasn't really me. That really wasn't authentic. Yeah. That wasn't my side. If I was like the coach who said that all the time and did that,
that wouldn't have lived.
We're not trying to 10 years that. It was just a one-off.
Oh yeah, and that's just it. That's why I kind of who knows. I'd almost forgotten about that.
So not only was that said just like casually, it really wasn't even said casually at practice. It was literally on race day. In the same huddle.
What a legacy.
10 years later, like, funny.
It's probably more tame when you hear the real story. Yeah, it was so tame. People's minds probably going all kinds of weird directions on that one. So
it's a great story. I love it.
It's great to me. I have peace in my heart now, knowing where that came from.
Yeah, we did. We got hosed out of that race though. Yeah, we should have won that. So
it was awesome.
It was great.
Yeah,
good chat.
Thank you so much.
It was fantastic.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks
absolutely.
Thanks
for the beer.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
best of luck. Best of luck with New Hartford moving forward there, coaching. I know that's definitely got to be a passion of yours, being there for so long and finally getting the chance to get that part of your life going. We look forward to to seeing your guys' success there on
it's
the
exciting,
men's
yeah.
side.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope they are listening, except for that one part there about the UC stuff. And
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
Sprung from cages on Highway 9, chrome wheel, fuel injected and stepping out over the line. Oh, baby, this town rips the bones from your back. It's a death trap, it's a suicide rap. We gotta get out while we're young, 'cause tramps like us, baby, we were born to run.
Nice. All right. Take her away, man. How is it?
It's
Baby,